Today's story comes from the relationship subreddit and was posted by SaltyGirl23 and was titled Me, 22 female, with my former crush or friend, 22 male. I'm pissed. Sorry for the wall of text, but I have to vent. Okay, grew up idolizing this boy and crushing on him hard. Finally, about senior year, we switched from friends to boyfriend or girlfriend, although we both know that I was going to leave in the fall for college and would be hundreds and hundreds of miles away. So both of us agree that while we are boyfriend or girlfriend, that we keep it light and never really get past second base. Kind of mutual, but really I would have been more than willing and on several occasions thought about going further. Fast forward to me leaving and getting to college. Within a month of me being here, it just felt pointless to keep up the LDR. The best we could do was text and talk on the phone, because at first he still had dial-up internet. I know, idiotic, right? But where he lived just outside of town, that's all they had. About 6 months later, he got Comcast, so he then could use Skype. Anyway, I tell him that because of our distance and all, that he should really just go ahead and date around and have fun, and that when I come home for summers and such, we can hang out, and when I graduate and come back home, we can get together again as a couple. He wasn't very happy about this, but ultimately decided that this was the best for both of us. So I live the college life. I lose my V-chip about a month after he and I amicably break up to a ONS, and from there, I just proceeded to have a few friends with benefits with a couple of flings over a 4-year period of time. But I do all of this without getting emotionally attached to anyone on purpose. In fact, I turned down dates from guys who wanted more than just a physical relationship, because in my mind, when I was out of college, I was going home to him, and that we were to pick up where we left off. He and I talked constantly via Skype once he figured out how to use it, once or twice a week minimum. On summer breaks and holidays at home, we would go out and do things all the time. I thought we were the best of friends during this period. I asked him often if he is dating and having fun, and at first he wasn't doing anything, but the last couple of years he has been saying that he has had some dates. I don't press him very often, although I have asked to see photos of the girls he's dating, and he has just always kind of laughed it off. I told him very early on, freshman year, that I had lost my virginity, and when I told him, he didn't bat an eye. So I just assumed, I guess stupidly, that he didn't care as long as the plan was to come home to him at the end of this. So about a month ago, when I'm starting to make plans to come home, I start hinting about the plans to get together now that I will be graduating. In fact, told him that I had an apartment lined up and that once I get back, he was welcome to stay with me. His response should have been my first clue, but being an idiot, it didn't strike me until yesterday. He asked why he would give up his house for an apartment. I just thought, oh, okay, so you've got a house now, and I didn't know it. I asked him how long he had the house, and he said that he closed on it in February. I should have picked up on the fact that he did not ask me to stay with him, but nope, I'm not that smart. So I've packed up everything, and my brother and his wife are going to drive back with me this weekend after graduation. I get on Skype with him this evening, and the conversation is pretty standard, but I'm honestly excited because for one, I'm done with this shit. I love the college life, but damn, I hate college. And two, I'm going to ask him how we're going to move forward with the plan. Well, I'll spare you the back and forth and just get to the bombshell. I just ask how he sees our life together now that I'm going to be home. The surprised look on his face was my first real indication that this was about to blow up on me. He says he doesn't see any reason why we can't be friends just because we live in the same town. I then remind him of the plan and that I have been waiting for this day for 4 years. He might as well have reached through the computer and pulled out my heart with what came next. He said that he thought we were just friends and that we had both moved on from a romantic relationship years ago. Then to add insult to injury, he tells me that he has been dating a girl for over 2 years now and that they intend on getting married. I lose my shit and start bawling. I then start to berate him for leading me on and telling him how I never allowed myself to feel anything for anyone. I called him an asshole, and for whatever reason, me calling him an asshole set him off. He then rips into me about being the one who broke up with him. I reminded him he agreed to separate, but he then said I never gave him a choice. He said at first he was hurt beyond words that I had slept with someone else, but by the time I had told him more about my life, that he went from being hurt to being disgusted. I asked him why he never said anything to me about it. He said that he didn't feel it was any of his business and that he felt I was kind of cruel to tell him things over the years, and that he never once told me anything, which is true even when I try to drag it out of him. He then tells me that he will always have a special place in his heart, that it is as a friend, and that he could never see himself with someone like me. Someone like me? What the fuck? I call him on his bullshit here, asking him what does that mean. Basically, he called me a whore without calling me a whore. I guess he was not okay with me having meaningless casual sex. I just told him to go fuck himself, and that I hope he and his stupid-ass girlfriend, who I have since learned is a damn secretary, have a wonderful fucking life together, and slam my laptop down. I am feeling pissed, or humiliated, or foolish, or hurt, and about a million other emotions tonight. This weekend was supposed to be nothing but one big party, but all I've been able to do all night long is lay in my bed and cry. To make matters worse, it's just a damn mattress, as all of my other shit is packed in my car or my brother's car. My brother and his wife have taken turns holding me as I cry to them. Fucking asshole. Goddamn, I so badly hate the fact that I didn't go out on dates with people who actually like me while this shithead was at home, apparently living in domestic bliss. Arrogant asshole. Who is he to judge me anyway? Edit for clarification. Since I am now awake and more sober, I'll try and clear up a couple of points. Yes, I initiated the breakup. I just knew that I didn't want either of us to miss out on enjoying our youth while trying to keep with one another, and would only be together physically very few times over the next 4 years. In other words, I just was going for an open relationship. I even called it that when we were talking. This wasn't just for me. I wanted him to see and meet people as well. That is why I kept asking him about all of his dates, hoping that he would share them with me, so we could keep them as light as possible. He wasn't supposed to fall in love with anyone else, just date and have fun. No, this wasn't all in my head. When we broke up, we went over this. He never once told me that he had a long-term girlfriend. I thought he was just hooking up with different people. Now, to be fair, he never told me who he was dating at all, so I guess that is my fault for just assuming it was multiple and not just one. Also, someone asked if he cheated on her with me. That's totally fucked up for me to think of it in that context because I considered him mine to begin with. But I guess that would depend on your context. I sure as hell thought of them as dates, so yes, he's a cheating shitbag as well. Now, he never physically cheated on her, I guess, because we have never done the deed. I just thought he was waiting and that this was special to him. I'm still pissed today, but not nearly as much as I am hurt. I can't believe this has happened. Thanks for those of you who have called me a horrible person. That was really helpful. Update. Okay, after the thorough trashing I took in my first thread, I thought I would update you for your entertainment if nothing else. I've got nothing else in my life at the moment. So I'm all moved into my new apartment, got the new job, still haven't been able to reconnect with old friends because most have moved on or have yet to return home for the summer. Holiday weekend have plans with my family, brother, and sister-in-law have been absolute rocks for me and have spent a lot of free time trying to keep my spirits up. Friday night, we decide to go to the movies for the late show, but figure we will catch dinner first. You may already have guessed who is sitting in the restaurant. We are already sitting before I spot them, which they had already spotted us. I'm curious as to what she looks like. I've never seen her before this, but I don't want to be too obvious and look at her. So I try and get my brother to do it, but he refuses. Anyway, it didn't matter anyway, because they were getting ready to leave. So on their way by, he drops by to say hello to me as his girlfriend has gone to the bathroom. Awkwardness ensues as we try and have a bullshit conversation like nothing has changed or anything. Then I see her walking up behind him, and she puts her hand on his shoulder, which just makes me burn, but I don't say or act any differently. He starts to introduce her when she blurts out my sister-in-law name. They both then embrace, and I am sitting there saying to myself, what the literal fuck is going on here? Turns out new girlfriend is my sister-in-law's cousin, as if things couldn't get worse. I choke out a, nice to meet you, when she's introduced to me, and yes, I could tell she was being fake nice and playing off on that she obviously knew about me, because she kept touching him. They left, and I excused myself to go to the bathroom, where I proceeded to cry for about 5 minutes. My sister-in-law came in and was very apologetic, saying she had no idea and sorry. I told her it wasn't her fault, but it was pretty obvious I was in no shape to go to the movies. I told them to go without me and that I was going home. They only agreed to go if they could stop over after the movie to check up on me. The next day, I had enough. I don't care what people think, I know damn well we agreed to this together. And if my life was going to be shit, then I want to know the real reason this happened. So Saturday, I went to his house and confronted him. She was not there, thankfully, but even if she was, I was still going to do it. I started off super pissed, but by the time he answered the door, I was just really more of an emotional wreck. He didn't want me to come in, so he has an enclosed porch that we use to talk. I just flat out asked him the whens and whys, and what points in time he decided that I wasn't good enough for him, and why didn't he ever tell me he had a long-term girlfriend? His answers were pretty vague, and I just did not want to lose him, and out of everything I've done, this is the thing I'm the most embarrassed by. I started crying and begging him. Damn it, I hate myself for that. I truly do. I made an absolute fool of myself. He was nice about the whole thing, but never once wavered off of his commitment to her. I just apologized as best I could. I guess I needed to hear this next part from him, but it hurts worse than anything I've ever experienced. I just went ahead and asked him if me being with the other guys was the problem. I read what you all said, and while I didn't think it was true, I felt I needed to hear it from him. So basically, I threw away the man of my dreams for a string of ONS and a couple of friends with benefits, none of which meant anything to me, nor will they for the rest of my life. Now, the Virgin Queen gets the man who I have honestly loved for 4 years, and it is now truly over for me. Sadly for me, he really does love her and is devoted to her, which makes me hate her that much more, but the truth is I hate myself even more because I am the one who threw this away. Edit. Yes, several times over the years we talked about our plans together after college. No, not once did he ever tell me that our plans were no longer our plans as a couple. I made a home for all of the summers and most of the holidays, but there were some holidays that we did not meet up because our schedules didn't match as he left town to go to his family holidays. Yes, I now freely admit to being a dumbass. In retrospect, we never really specifically said, hey, you remember the whole plan about getting back together, right? But there were tons, and I mean tons of, I can't wait to get home to be with you statements. How not even 2 months ago, I was telling him about my job offer at a local company and said how happy that made me, so I could be with him. I even said start our life together, and he never said a word contrary to it. He is now claiming that every time I said something like this to him, that he thought I meant as a friend. So while in my mind it is out of the question that he could not have known what I was talking about, he does not see it that way. While right now I'm very hurt and have very hard feelings towards him, I will not call him a liar, because he has never lied that I know of. Now, why he never once told me he had a long-term relationship is beyond me. That would have been a nice piece of information to have, say 2 years ago when they started being an item. Edit 2. For those of you sending me direct messages, calling me a slut, and for those of you who are implying it on here, let me address this as best as I can. Yes, I admit now that the entire initial thought process about losing my virginity to a random person was a mistake, one I get to live with for the rest of my life, and you very much. Also, now that I have spoken with him twice, my thinking about telling him in such a manner was wrong. What I took as stoicism was in fact him coping by detaching. Now, having said that, please do not confuse the fact that I said several ONS and a couple of friends with benefits as me being the campus whore. I have slept with less than 10 people in my life, and I can assure you my roommate from college would do that in about a 3-month period. In fact, I spent the last 2 years, basically 2 to 3 times a month with a friend who was the a-hole and one drunken throw with another friend from school. So calling me a slut is not accurate, nor frankly is it very polite. I get that people think I'm an idiot on here. Hey, believe it or not, I'm right there with you. But I never considered sex to be anything more than just an activity without love being involved. That's what truly sucks, is I have never actually made love to someone, and it kills me that she has had this with him, and I never will. Final comment. Hope says, hopefully you'll be able to be friends with him, as he actually sounds pretty respectful and nice, especially to someone who hurt him unintentionally. I would like to try that someday, but honestly right now I just can't. It's not his fault at all, and you are correct, he has been nothing but respectful and nice about all of this. But I have to have some distance for a little bit, because if I see him, I know no matter how hard I try, I'm going to start crying and making a fool of myself again. I don't know what is worse, the fact of knowing that I won't ever be with him, or the fact that in my clueless state, I did hurt him. I sometimes feel like I'm watching a movie of my life instead of living it, and right now, it's a combination horror film and tragic comedy. I guess I'm going through a lot of stages of grieving here, as my first was anger, but now I am down to sadness and guilt. The second story is from Relationship Advice subreddit. It was posted by Solver1 and was titled My 25 Female Stepmom 44 female, has blocked me from seeing anything involving my dad, 59 male, and says she will unblock me when she feels ready. I feel shut out. My dad and stepmom have been married for several years. My brother and I used to be invited to holidays and other family events fairly often. At the time, my brother was a police officer and I was a corrections officer, so our schedules sometimes made it difficult or impossible to attend. We did not intentionally avoid the family, but we understandably could not make it to every event. Apparently, our inability to attend everything hurt my stepmom much more than either of us realized. Eventually, she stopped inviting us all together. A little over a year ago, I started talking to my brother about how disconnected I felt. I kept seeing Facebook posts of my dad, my stepmom, and her children celebrating holidays and attending family events together, while my brother and I were rarely invited or involved. My brother confronted my stepmom about it directly. The confrontation became a much larger conflict than I ever expected. According to my stepmom, it caused so much hurt and tension that she and my dad discussed divorce. Afterward, she changed her Facebook privacy settings so my brother and I could no longer see posts involving her family, including posts and photos involving our own dad. I only fully confirmed this a few days ago. I logged into an old Facebook account that was still connected with my dad and saw several posts my stepmom had tagged him in. None of them appeared on my regular account. I asked her directly whether she had blocked me from certain posts, and she confirmed that she had. She explained that the situation last year had been extremely painful for her, and that changing the privacy settings was her way of protecting her peace, protecting her marriage, and preventing future family conflict. She said the decision was not intended to hurt me or push me away. I responded as respectfully as I could. I explained that I understood why the original conflict hurt her, and that I was not angry or jealous about her spending time with my dad and her children. I also told her that I understand we all have separate schedules and lives, and that I do not expect to be involved in every family activity. What has been difficult is feeling completely disconnected from my dad and that side of the family. Even when I cannot attend something, seeing an occasional picture of my dad or seeing everyone together helps me feel like I am still connected to them in some small way. I also told her that it has now been over a year that I have reflected on what happened, and that I believe I have grown from it. I apologized previously and made it clear that I do not want to return to the conflict we had before. I simply hoped she might eventually feel comfortable allowing me to see those posts again. She responded kindly, but said that the situation nearly cost her marriage and that she still has her guard up. She said rebuilding trust and feeling emotionally safe will take time. She also said she wants to be able to post whatever she wants about herself, my dad, and her children without worrying about anyone reacting negatively. She said that when she feels ready, she will change the privacy settings. I understand that she was hurt, and I am not trying to tell her how quickly she should recover. At the same time, there is no indication of when she might feel ready. It could be months, years, or possibly never. The social media issue also made me think more seriously about my relationship with my dad outside of Facebook. Whenever I ask to spend time with him, he usually has to confirm with my stepmom that it is okay first. The last time I spent time alone with him was more than 6 months ago when we went to lunch. During the lunch, my stepmom called him repeatedly, sometimes only a few minutes apart, which made it difficult for us to have a genuine conversation. In fact, I called my dad today to see if we could schedule a time for the two of us to get lunch or dinner together, and he told me he had to make sure it was okay with my stepmom first. I have not felt like I have been able to maintain a close, independent relationship with my dad for a long time. I feel as though access to him depends on whether my stepmom is comfortable with it. I do not want to create more conflict in their marriage, and I am not asking him to choose between his wife and his children. I just want to be able to have a relationship with my dad that is not constantly filtered through someone else. My dad is turning 60 this year. I know that is not extremely old, but it has made me think about how limited our time with our parents really is. I want to spend time with him, talk to him, and continue making memories while we still can. Instead, I feel like more and more time is passing while I wait for my stepmom to decide that she feels comfortable with me again. This has been seriously affecting my mental health. I feel rejected, excluded, and distance from my dad. At the same time, I recognize that my stepmom has her own feelings and believes she is protecting herself and her marriage. I feel that this has gone beyond protecting her peace and has become a way of shutting me out of my dad's life. How can I address this with my dad without making him feel like he has to choose sides? Edit for clarification. I understand why many of you are saying my dad is responsible for maintaining a relationship with me, and I agree. However, I am surprised that many have dismissed the possibility that there may be a controlling dynamic going on within his marriage. The last time I had lunch with my dad, which I mentioned in my initial post below, my stepmom called him repeatedly, and we could barely have a genuine conversation without her interrupting. At one point, I even told him he didn't have to answer her calls and that it could wait, but he told me that if he didn't answer her calls, it would cause a huge fight or argument between them. As previous others have stated, if the roles were reversed, and this was a mother who said she needed her husband's permission to have a meal alone with her daughter, while he repeatedly called her throughout and said if she ignored his calls it would create an argument, I think many would recognize that as potentially controlling behavior. I believe my dad is trying to avoid conflict, is afraid of ruining his marriage, is unable to stand up to his wife, or is just simply worried about the consequences of upsetting her. Update. My dad called me back today and said we can get lunch or dinner this Thursday. Funny enough, I heard my stepmom in the background saying, "But we have this thing going on Thursday," to which I said that they usually do that thing in the mornings, so dinner should work just fine, to which my dad agreed. I'm happy I'll finally be able to spend quality time with my dad and address the concerns I've had. Thanks to the helpful comments regarding this situation. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "Why are you and your brother discussing any of this with the step? Why are you not talking directly to dad? Let me point out that your dad knows you're not there. So, does he sanction her dismissal of you and your brother? Talk to your father." Without the step. Opie replied, "That's the problem. We hardly have any opportunities to speak with our dad directly. She has access to his phone and reads every conversation we have with him. We can't get time alone with him to have these conversations. I know my dad is just trying to be neutral in this situation or probably doesn't even know how to handle it." Opie responds to a downvoted comment about the fact that she and her brother are now adults and their father is not prioritizing them over his wife and family. Opie says, "Or rather, my stepmom has created an environment in which my dad doesn't even feel safe or like he is able to prioritize us without potentially causing offense to his wife or damaging the relationship. In our state, men rarely, if ever, come out of a divorce with anything." Commenter 2 says, "Does he have some deficit that he can't have direct conversations by phone with you? He's 60, not 85. Does he just not care about you and brother? I'm shonte cheche. I would kill to maintain a good relationship with my sons." Opie replied, "I know he genuinely cares about us and having a relationship with us. However, I'm under the assumption that his wife is making him choose between us or her, or threatening divorce. The last time my dad and I got lunch together, his wife was calling him, and I wish I was joking, every 2 minutes. I told him he doesn't need to answer her, and that it can wait, and he explained that if he didn't answer, it would cause a huge fight between them. If the roles were reversed as other commenters have stated, and this was my mother instead of my dad, most people would agree that it is a controlling and abusive relationship." Commenter 3 says, "Unfortunately, you have to face the fact that your father allows this." Opie replied, "I understand that he has some responsibility for allowing it, and I'm not trying to excuse him altogether. I genuinely don't know whether he fully realizes what is happening because we rarely get the opportunity to speak to him privately about any of it. The last time the issue came up, it was presented to him in a way that made my brother and me seem entirely at fault, while our feelings and perspectives seem to get lost. I don't know exactly what she says to him behind closed doors, but it often feels like the situation is framed around her hurt and her need for peace, without much acknowledgement of how her decisions affect us or our relationship with our dad. That is why I want the chance to speak with him directly, rather than assuming he knows the entire story and simply does not care. I think that's an extreme assumption." Commenter 4 says, "Why are you taking with her and not your dad?" Opie replied, "Because I can't get together with my dad privately to have this discussion, She always has an excuse that they have something important going on that day that they both need to be present for. I can't often call or text my dad to discuss it either because she goes through his phone and I never know if she's in the room or not during a phone call. Update 2. I did have dinner with my dad tonight, which I'm so thankful for. I could tell he was so happy to spend time with me. The first thing he told me when I picked him up was how he had a hard time sleeping last night and had high blood pressure because he was so anxious about how his wife, my stepmom, would react to us having dinner together privately. He shared with me that she argued about feeling left out. Mind you, they do everything together, go everywhere together, etc. She tried really hard to get him to cancel, and knowing it might upset her, he went anyways. She claimed my dad only cares about my feelings and that I was trying to start things up again like last year. My dad said that she also told him this, which made my mouth drop to the floor in anger. Who's going to be there when you're sick or on your deathbed? Not your kids, me. Who on earth says that? My stepmom clearly doesn't understand the love I have for my dad, and I'm so offended by that. He said himself he feels like she's put him in a position where he feels like he has to choose between her or his kids, my brother and I, and that only her kids seem to matter. He also admitted to noticing that she has seemed to use her feelings or emotions as a way to try and manipulate him. We talked about so much involving this, and I can't remember everything, but he did also confirm that while they never argue about anything, the only time an argument comes up is when it involves us, his kids. I think this dinner really opened my eyes and affirmed the suspicions I had, and hopefully his as well. He was already very anxious, so I did not show him the post and comments because I didn't want to make things worse. For those of you who claim my dad was the bad guy here, I hope this update might make you see things differently. Thank you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, my dad was in a very similar relationship, and I told him the following. If you ever need to leave, or if things get really bad between you two, just call me and tell me to come get you. No questions asked. I wanted him to know that I was a safe place. No judgment. No lectures. No, I told you so. Just someone who would show up. He lived about 4 hours away at the time. Toward the end of his life, her behavior became so much worse, especially when it came to taking care of him. The sad part was that he didn't require much help. He was incredibly independent for as long as he possibly could be, yet she acted as though every small request was the biggest inconvenience in the world. She was like every evil Disney stepmother rolled into one. From what you've described, your stepmom sounds very similar. Opie replied, the crazy thing is she has him convinced that she loves us and cares about us like her own children, and has told him she wishes she was our real mom. But that contradicts everything that has happened or is happening. Something else I have not shared previously is that I have another brother who is no longer involved in the family from some crazy stuff that supposedly happened between my stepmom and him. And the one brother I've mentioned in my posts is at a point where he doesn't care and doesn't want to be involved in the family drama, but was pushed away by my stepmom. So I'm the only child my dad has left who is still there, trying and caring. The bond my dad and I have is very strong, and I believe now, at this point, he would divorce her in a heartbeat if she forced that decision of me or your daughter onto him. Commenter 2 says, you haven't said, but don't either of them work? Is there not a chance to get him outside the house on an errand? I know you said she is stuck to him and they do everything together, but where does the money to live come from? Opie replied, they co-own a business.